Have you enjoyed studying the book of Vayikra? Do you have any thoughts about it? This week, here in the land of Israel, we conclude the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, with the Torah portion of Bechukotai. Bechukotai meaning, my decrees, Hashem speaking. The opening verse of the Parsha stating, if you will follow, actually literally, if you will go in my decrees and observe my commandments and perform them, then I will provide your rains in their time, and the land will give its produce, and the tree of the field will give its fruit. Your threshing will last until the vintage, and the vintage will last until sowing. You will eat your bread to satiety, and you will dwell securely in your land. And these blessings promised to Israel are so beautifully expressed, so succinct, so precise, and yet so completely comprehensive. We read, beginning in verse 3, if you follow my statutes and observe my commandments and perform them, I will give you rains in their time, the land will yield its produce, and the tree of the field will give forth its fruit. Your threshing will last until the vintage, and the vintage will last until the sowing. You will eat your food to satiety. You will live in security in your land, and I will grant peace in the land. And you will lie down with no one to frighten you. I will remove wild beasts from the land, and no army will pass through your land. You will pursue your enemies, and they will fall by the sword before you. 5 of you will pursue 100, and 100 of you will pursue 10,000, and your enemies will fall by the sword before you. I will turn towards you. I will make you fruitful and increase you, and I will set up my covenant with you. You will eat very old produce, and you will clear out the old from before the new. And I will place my dwelling in your midst, and my spirit will not reject you. And I will walk among you and be your God, and you will be my people. I am Hashem your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt from being slaves to them, and I broke the pegs of your yoke and led you upright. These verses express everything, really, that there is to hope for. Very concise, everything there is to live for. It's a utopian vision that includes health, prosperity, peace, happiness, victory, spiritual fulfillment and purpose, self-worth, and clarity of purpose, guaranteed from heaven. This parsha, though, Bechukotai, its very name, brings some people the chills, because it features also the tochacha, the admonition, God's warning of what could possibly befall Israel if Israel does not listen to him, does not perform the commandments, and, as the verse continues, if you consider my decrees loathsome, and if your being ejects my ordinances, so as not to perform all my commandments, so that you annul my covenant, then, the Torah states, I will do the same to you. And the Torah proceeds to outline 5 cycles, or levels, of intensifying punishments that will be visited upon Israel. All told, the tochacha, the admonition, and by the way, there's a whole industry amongst the commentaries. Did this happen yet? Didn't it happen yet? Does it apply to various historical periods, and analyze the various things that are said there? I have no interest in that at the moment. All told, what's being described here is more than the opposite, more than simply the opposite of the utopian promise of the blessing, more than simply a dystopian vision of a reality that unfolds before us, dystopian meaning things that we would not like to see happening. It's actually a living nightmare of suffering, subjugation, fear and loathing, insecurity, impotence, and desolation. With God's promise, of course, that he will not reject them, utterly obliterate them, or annul his covenant with them, but that he will remember them and return them. But these punishments are very severe, if that's the proper definition. Punishments. The most compelling aspect of this intensifying cycle of the admonition is the cause. If you behave casually with me, says God, then I too will behave towards you with casualness. And finally, as God stating in verse 27, I will behave towards you with the fury of casualness. This casualness, expressed in Hebrew by the word keri, implies more than just a casual attitude, but rather an attitude that the universe is casual, coincidental, happenstance, meaningless. As people are wont to say, stuff happens. So basically in this verse Hashem is saying, okay, if you think stuff happens, none of it makes any sense, here, catch this stuff. Stuff will happen to you with a fury. What are you going to do about it, though? But it seems to me that the greatest punishment of all is being described here. I mean, is this attitude of everything being casual affecting, as described here, God's reciprocity, is that the cause and effect? Or indeed, is that also the worst punishment of all? To think that everything is happening of itself, that's at once the cause of and the worst of all these punishments. Everything here, whether one finds this section in the Torah as chilling and scary and something to be voiced in an undertone and something fearful, or something that is not particularly threatening but actually makes a lot of sense, our attitude about these verses is directly connected to our conception of God. And when we say God, we mean our relationship with the universe, reality, existence, the purpose of human life, and of God in particular. What is our take? Who is He to us as we conclude the book of Vayikra? Is He a malignant or fearful or vengeful force that has us in the corner and won't take no, that will punish us for disobeying His word, is literally out to get us? Or is He our Creator, our King, our Father, who loves us as children, even if we be wayward children? So, is God simply my errand boy? Is He my insurance policy, my fail-safe, my default? Is it just a relationship of take care of me and mine, and what can you do for me? Or is this about a real relationship and our responsibility towards all of creation? So, how do we feel in retrospect now about this book that we've been so immersed in for so many weeks now, the book of Vayikra, the heart of the Torah, now that we're finishing it? What was it all about? And really, why is this here? Why is this the conclusion of the book of Vayikra? The book of Leviticus is God's perception of reality. And actually, it's the rope that He throws us for us to grab onto and try and realize that there is much more to life than meets the eye. Seeing life as simply what meets the eye is our biggest problem. So one thing that we've tried to emphasize in the past several weeks, especially the past two Torah portions of Emor and Behar, we tried to emphasize that the dimensions of space and time and life intersect. Because at their roots, there is no distinction or division between them, and actually they are all one. They are all one in Hashem's reality, because the only reality truly is Hashem. So there's a verse that we're going to get to in the book of Deuteronomy, in Devarim, in chapter 4, verse 35. And that verse makes it clear that actually there is nothing else but Hashem. We find in Parashat Bechukotai, Moshe tells the people in that verse, you have been shown in order to know that Hashem, He is the God. There is none beside Him. Famous verse, Moshe telling the Jewish people, Parashat Bechukotai, Ein od milvado. Those words, Ein od milvado, commonly understood to mean there is none beside Him, actually means that there's nothing else besides Him. There's nothing else. So now you have to open up your heart in the deepest way. This is the key to understanding this section of the Torah. It's all about our lives as either acknowledging the Creator or denying Him. There's a very big worldwide industry now of denying the Creator. And this is the secret of understanding this parsha, because what's going on here is not tit for tat. It's not a retribution. It's about being part of that reality or not. And thus, it's a very fitting conclusion to Vayikra, which is, after all, the section of the Torah that instructs us as to building a home, we, mere human beings, as to building a home for the Shekhinah, the divine presence, to dwell among us, and allowing for that blessing to be in the world, and living our lives in that presence of the Shekhinah on a heightened, sharpened, elevated, meaningful plane of consciousness. And yes, that is what, as we have stressed over and over again, that's what the whole system of the offerings in the Holy Temple is all about. It's about us living on a heightened level of consciousness, not about placating God with an animal offering, but about getting through to a certain place in human heart and mind and soul about what life is offering us. The Torah, and particularly the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, teaches us freedom. Now, how do we define freedom? And I challenge you, because if we look around in the world today, and no matter where you are, but especially vividly, I think this is true for us as we attempt to understand the underpinnings of what's going on here in Israel on a day-to-day level, the struggle of God consciousness versus denial. But actually this is true all over the world. You want to understand this parsha? What this is all about? These stark images of this dystopian reality? Everything boils down to this. Do we acknowledge and recognize, admit and internalize that there is a creator and nothing is haphazard, nothing is carry, nothing is casual, and therefore such acknowledgement will reflect in our behavior because we'll realize that there's nothing else but Hashem and we're part of Him, and either we elevate or bring down all of creation with everything we do, or are we in total denial of the Creator, and we find His mitzvot, His plan for human purpose and His moral code, if we find it to be loathsome, which attitude in turn will allow us to be whatever we want to be, because nothing matters, because nothing is purposeful, because everything is a fury of casuality. And in such a dystopian world, Caitlyn Jenner is the hero, because humanity has achieved freedom. So a boy can decide he's a girl and use the girls' restroom and a whole lot more. Because if that is our idea of freedom, and that is how we define courage, then can we not expect a fury of casuality in return because we deny that there is any purpose in our own existence? The Torah, as embodied by the book of Leviticus, is offering us freedom. There are only two possible directions that Israel / humanity can possibly take. The route of casuality, which is predicated on the denial of the Creator, and which results in the reciprocal casuality, or the route of acknowledgement of the Creator, in which case there is none other. So it's really all or nothing when it comes to the Creator, as Moses told the people in Parashat Bechukotai, Ein od milvado. There is nothing else but Hashem. And by the way, this is not actually the conclusion of the book of Vayikra, because there is one more chapter, chapter 27 of this beautiful Sefer, and that ends with the topic of evaluating gifts for the Holy Temple, according to the valuation of a person, of sanctifying and redeeming animals, and even property. Because actually, everything and everyone can be redeemed. And this is the message of the blessing and the admonition of our Torah portion, with a tremendous existential seeming crescendo, this book, which is the heart of the Torah, ends. It's all about whether or not we choose to live our reality as part of Hashem's vision for redemption, the redemption of all humanity.